Okay, so now let's take a look at how we can create recordings in Ranorex that we will later on use to create our test cases. So I've got Data Miner Cube already opened here, and I'll open up Ranorex Spy. So the first thing we'll do is try to identify parts of the cube so we can use them in the test. Okay, let's see if I can get these side by side. Right, and so in Ranorex Spy we can click the track button, and then we can hover our target application. So first thing I'll do is, for example, the data miner header here. And let's see what this is doing. Okay, so here we can see we have some kind of tree structure. So we have our main window, then a grid, a border. Grids and borders are typical layout items in WPF, so we don't care too much for now. Then we have the cube header here. Let's just take a quick look. First level is the form. So the form is basically our Windows form, the main level of our application. And then here on the right, you can see some properties of the item you selected in the tree. So let's go back to our form. So for our form, for example, we can see the title, we can see its data miner, it's connected to DMA 10108160, and we can see the process name, which is data miner cube. We can see it has an automation ID called main window, and we can see it's of type data miner cube. I think those are the most interesting ones for this one. Then we have the overview tab, and next to that we have an advanced tab with some more properties. Okay, and you can see here on the top of the Ranorex Spy window, we have similar to what we have in browser, like a text editor, and whenever we select something, a string of text is coming in here. This is called our Ranorex Xpath, and this is the format that Ranorex uses to identify the selected item. On the website of Ranorex, we have some extensive documentation on that one. Let me show that quickly. Okay, so if you go to ranorex.com help Ranorex Xpath syntax, then you can see all of the explanation. So most of the examples begin with form, so that's your main application. And then we have some axis. So axis is how you move to a parent or a next step in the tree. If you're familiar with Xpath, you will notice this is very similar, but this one's called Ranorex Xpath and has a few additions to the standard Xpath. So the first thing is the axis. You have a child axis and descendant or self and parent. So a normal slash means go on to the next step in the UI tree. You can also, it's similar to descendant. Okay, then the double slash is descendant or self. So basically that's going through everything that is below the current item in the UI tree. So it's be careful with this one because it can cause very lengthy searches. Then parent is double dot. That's all the same as in regular Xpath. And an ancestor is basically something any level above. Okay, I'm not gonna go through all of these also, but the attributes are still quite important. So an attribute is something you add to the first name between square brackets, and then you say add title or the name of the attribute, in this case it's title, and then equals calculator in this example. And there's many more possibilities. Okay, I'm not gonna go through all of this, but consider it mandatory reading because it's quite important that you are familiar with the Ranorex Xpath options when you work with Ranorex. So back to tracking our data miner cube. So earlier on we've tracked our data miner logo here. And so we can see that we have the cube header. So if I click this one, you will also immediately see a red box around this part of the UI tree. So the cube header is the entire top part of the cube here. Then we have the search box container, for example, is the bit around the search box, and so everything has a logical place in this tree. And then there we have our logo. So with the logo selected, let's take a look at our Ranorex Xpath here. So first thing is the main window. Then we have a container without further definition. Then we have container of type content control. Then we have the cube header. And then within this header, we have some more structural items. And then finally, we arrive at a logo. Also in Ranorex Spy, you have two main tabs here. So one is the browser and results, which is showing you the entire tree. And next to that, you have the path editor. And here in the path editor, you can make some changes. You can make changes immediately in the text. So I can, for example, change from cube header logo to cube header LGO. And then if I hit enter, you will see here at the bottom, no elements found for current selection. If I change it back to logo, then one element was found within, I think it was 360 milliseconds. And here, so here we can select which attributes we want to use. If, for example, from the WPF attribute, I want to also verify or enforce that this should be something of type image. I can enable this here. If I say I'm not really interested in this left controls container, I can disable it and it will be replaced by a question mark wildcard in the path. Same thing for the content control. I don't really care about that. And also this first container. So I can disable some. There's one problem here with the path that's now been generated by disabling these items because we have any optional axis, and then we have any descendants, so we can simplify this by just replacing it with double slashes all the way, which makes the path more readable. So we have our main window, then our cube header, and then our logo. Let's do a search for this one. As you can see here, using the double slashes, it's taking significantly longer because it's basically browsing through the whole UI tree. So as you can see now, it took 13.16 seconds to find this element, and we can speed it back up again. Let's cancel that by using single question marks. So for example, cube header is like 1, 2, 3, 4 levels below. So if I replace this by 4 question marks and hit enter again, then we're down to 340 milliseconds. And just to be on the safe side, if something changes in Cube, I always tend to add 1 extra. And then we're down to also a very acceptable 800 milliseconds to find this header logo. We could do the same thing here. So we have cube header, grid, dock panel. So that's 3 additional levels, but I don't think it will make much difference in performance. It's going down to 133 milliseconds. So you can do it, but you always have to balance the gain. So gain on this one is about 600 milliseconds. On the previous change, it was 13 seconds. So I think this is definitely the most important one to put into your Ranorex Xpath. Okay, so we have our workspaces grid here. That's probably an interesting one because that's the thing that's holding all of our workspaces. Then we have list item. If we take a closer look at the properties here, maybe we'll need to look into the advanced. We see here in the data context, this is linked to a workspace view. So in fact, each of these list items contains a single data miner workspace. So if I switch to one of the other workspaces and refresh, okay, give it a couple of seconds. Okay, so now it found 6 elements for this list box item. So as we can see, it's using double slash here, and it's already digging all the way through the tree. This one here, I don't know what it is also a match. And then it's digging deeper and deeper and deeper and finding more list items. So we'll probably need to limit that one using question marks. And as you can see here, we have our second workspace. Note that in Ranorex Spy, so it's now showing this first as dark, in some dark gray color, and the second one here is in bright white. So that means this one is hidden. It can still find it, but it's not visible. And the second list box item, or second workspace, this one is visible. Okay, so let's move back to our first one, where we were working, and continue with our Microsoft view. Okay, so we have our Microsoft view here, and let's take a look at the properties of that one. So we have the text Microsoft, and just above that we have an F3 view item. And so the F3 view item is basically what makes up the entire tree view of the surveyor. Okay, let's go back to the overview. It's enabled. It has type F3 view. So from the properties here, there's a couple that we are typically interested in to identify our item. So typically we use automation ID. Let's take a look for one with an automation ID. Here the surveyor tree. Surveyor tree has an automation ID. Typically that's something that's been put in by our developers to have identifiable objects in the automation tree or in the UI tree. So those are always interesting to look out for. Then a second type that's typically interesting is let's see, this one's in the advanced, is a type. Here it's a border, that's less interesting. But for example, on the surveyor tree, we can see that this is an F3 view. So this one is immediately linked to the software type. And then there's some more properties we're interesting. So on our Microsoft text field, we typically have the text property also filled in. And in some cases, the caption property will also be filled in for text. You can see here that Ranorex is automatically preferring caption over text, but in most cases, it will not matter. In some cases, the caption will be slightly different from the text. So if you're looking for certain something, always make sure to check both. Visible is an important one. We don't typically want to use it to really identify items, but if you have multiple similar items, for example, like the cube sites here, then it's important to add visible is true. So if I go into my path editor and I say from the general items I want visible to be true, you will see this is added as a property to check on. So if you have like list items where some are visible and some are not visible, it's important that you enable the visible property check. Maybe just one more. Let's open up an element card. Okay, I'll go into the main view and I'll track one of these parameter controls here. Okay, and so from this parameter control, let's take a look. So again, we start at our main window, cube window. We have our workspace. And then we dig into our workspace, and here we come across the card page, card body, a card container. Let's see if we have any other. So I have the card container, which we also had in the path, and within that I have a container called card_heatline element. So this is an interesting one. It's also the automation ID of this one. And this is the actual content of my cart, and the name is the same as my element. So this is a very interesting one for us to identify the cart of a certain element. So we definitely want this one in our path. Let's take a look at the path editor. We have the cart container and then cart heatline elements. Yes, okay, so it's using that one. Let's disable a couple. I don't care about the layout grids. And I don't care about this container. Okay, let's continue. So within our cart, within our element cart, we have cart body, cart pages. I think, let's go back to the browser. Okay, so we have our cart page here, and next to our cart page, let's track it. We have the kind of the pages selector here. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so we have our text main view. So this is part of a tree item. This is part of a tree item. We have here the tree called cart_page tree view. So everything has a very logical layout, and we'll try to keep that layout as much as possible. Okay, so now let's go and take a look into Ranorex Studio.